Adam sat before the circle of mushrooms, weaving his magic. He made a desperate plea. He had to find a way. But who was he to call upon the likes of them? The audacity for a mortal to call forth the fairy royalty. The circle glowed, and a figure popped forth. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny, adventurers. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, I want to look at the rulers of the fairies. 3 figures: Titania, Oberon, and Puck. With a P, not an F. I know someone is going to mishear that. Now, the names may sound Greek, but Titania, Oberon, and Puck are characters from elsewhere in literature. The name Titania does come from Greek mythology. It was a term used for the daughters of the Titans. Though it was not until William Shakespeare used it for the Fairy Queen in his play A Midsummer Night's Dream was it tied to the Fairy Queen. Prior to that, she was nameless, but later also given the name Mabe. Oberon is actually a bit older. The name appears in the 13th century literature called Les Procès et Fêtes du Noble Huon de Bordeaux. Sorry, my French is horrible. I know. The name is believed to be a combination of the French words for noble and bear, among other believed origins. Even here, he is said to be the Fairy King, as tall as a 3-year-old, but very beautiful. And they claim he was the child of Julius Caesar and Morgan Le Fay. And this wouldn't work. Julius Caesar would have lived centuries before the start of Arthurian legends. Now his height was actually the result of a curse given to him by another fairy, but they made him good looking out of kindness. Thus we have the fairy guardian and the wicked fairy tying back to him. Now, A Midsummer Night's Dream is set in ancient Greece, and is tied with the wedding of the hero Theseus and the Amazon Hippolyta. And as is the trope, there are issues going on. Now Titania was going to the wedding, but her and Oberon were fighting. Now at the start of the year I talked about the changeling. These are either fairies or dolls slipped into cribs while the fairy stills the baby. The baby will be raised as a slave, often being deformed and twisted until they can never return to the mortal plane. Now Titania had a mortal Indian woman who worshipped her, and she had a child which Titania had replaced with a changeling. Yet Oberon wants the child to become one of his knights, and Titania refuses. Now, according to the story, they were spirits of nature and divine creatures. So their little feud was causing all sorts of bad weather. Flooded fields, mudslides, dense fogs, fierce winds, and so forth. Just what you need for a wedding. Well, Oberon had a servant named Puck. This name is probably derived from the Pucca of Celtic mythology. It was a spirit which brought luck, both good and bad. Now we have a side story with Eros, or Cupid. He was attempting to make a young maiden fall in love with a man, but missed with his arrow. It struck a white flower, turning it purple, and imbued it with magic, that of a love potion. When placed on the eyelids, the first person or creature you see upon waking, you will fall in love with. Puck goes and collects the flowers and produces the potion. Oberon planned on having Titania fall in love with some animal and make a giant joke of the whole thing. But Puck was a mischievous fellow and places the potion on several people in the wedding party. And chaos ensues. Fights break out. Oh, and the person that Titania first sees is a man named Nick Bottom, one of a group of performers putting on a play for the wedding. And Puck makes a joke of the poor man by turning his head into a donkey's. Yes, Mr. Bottom was an ass. Wonderful bit of humor. While Oberon eventually feels remorse before the wedding and cleanses the love potion from the party. Titania first thinks that the whole affair with the donkey man is a dream, but soon learns the truth, and the fairy rulers forgive each other. Further writers would later use the 3 characters. Normally, fairies are considered part of pagan mythology and were viewed negatively at the time. Yet Shakespeare tied them back to Greek legends to make them more appealing to his audience. But there are creatures which are comparable to fairies. The 2 big ones were the nymphs and dryads. The second one being very interesting. They were spirits of the forest and had powers over the woods themselves. The same powers we see exposed during their feud, disruption of weather and nature. It is easy to see how Shakespeare would use them as the baseline for creating his fairy monarchs. Yet tales about the rulers of the Fae are more common across Celtic mythology. Normally, they were closer to human size, except for Oberon in his original French tale. It was in the Victorian era where they started to be seen smaller. There are several theories as to what led to this change, including lack of worship and mixing them with other Fae, such as the Brownies. So what should you do if you meet them? Well, get away from them, but don't be rude about it. During their lovers' squabble, Titania and Oberon created plenty of problems for the local farmers and those that were there to attend the wedding. What if their powers were turned on you? Well, you are in trouble. We are looking at natural disasters at least. Storms, mudslides, and more. And what's worse, they dragged innocent people into their feud. This is common behavior we see in mythology regarding gods and high-tier royalty, narcissists and egotists at the best. So what are the chances that they have another argument? Well, pretty high to say the least. Both are headstrong, and their moods can be fickle. Just look at the end of the story. Oberon changes his mind about the love curse and undoes it all. What does Titania do? Well, she laughs off her little tryst with a donkey man and goes back to Oberon. Yeah, that doesn't sound like safe people to be around. And that is before we get to the mayhem, which is Puck, or the other underlings that appear in the play. This fairy turned a man's head into that of a donkey for shits and giggles. And he went about and spread the love potion to several other unnecessary people. He is a troublemaker, but he is competent. He did produce the love potion on his own, and he spread it. He is also shown to have several other spells of his own. So get away from them, but be discreet. They are royalty, and looking at their behavior, very likely to be offended. Now, could you win a fight with them? They are said to be fairies which are weak to wrought iron, but would that be enough? Probably not against these three individuals. Your chances are going to be the best in the city, away from nature. I would choose stealth here. Try to take them out in one strike. I mean, they created all kinds of weather anomalies just by arguing. What would happen if they turned their attention to you? Now, there is one option I want to look at. They both have huge egos. So what if you could get them to go after each other? Sounds good. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Except two things. 1. Innocent bystanders got dragged into their argument, which is never good for you. And 2. They forgave each other at the end. Though we never found out what happened with the changeling child, so probably not the best option. Let's be honest, if you get on their bad sides, things are likely to go bad. Very bad. They both have incredible knowledge and magic at their command, and it is all too easy for them to turn it on you. And that magic ranges from polymorph to environmental control. That is going to be difficult to handle. And why I'm going with a 9 of 10 for difficulty. Even if you defeat them, the fairies could be vengeful afterwards, and if you took out their royalty, they may turn their attention to you. Now, if you can avoid angering the fairies, there is much to gain. They have power magically and politically. And if you are their friend, they might aid you. What adventurer wouldn't want to have a king and queen in his pocket? Someone that owes them a favor. They could provide great power and support in a fight. Create a storm to sink an enemy fleet. A landslide to bury their farms and troops. Oh, they could do a lot. And they have knowledge. Oberon could teach you to make his love potion. Truth be told, it is a really evil potion. His antics in A Midsummer Night's Dream led to fighting between those caught between his feud with his wife. Of course, if you become their ally, you are likely to get dragged into their future squabbles. Oh, and those are going to happen, no way around that. But surely the benefits outweigh the costs. Maybe at least? Adam looked at the fairy before him. It laughed right in his face. It infuriated Adam, but he held his tongue. "Please, grant me an audience with your rulers," he requested. "No," was the only answer he got, before being sent flying through the air. Rising from his bruised ego, Adam stumbled forward. He had to find a way. If not the fairies, others. Forward he pressed. Always forward. Titania, Oberon, and Puck can make for an interesting story with their antics and complex social interactions having widespread impacts. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time for a class evaluation of the Warlock. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.